What is going on, everyone? Welcome into Bayou Bengals football. So what a win for LSU yesterday. Malik Nabers just absolutely went off. Malik Nabers, playing like just a man, just on a complete mission yesterday. I mean, the double moves. You saw Mike Denbrock in this offense finding ways to get this guy the football. You figured they were going to play some off-man coverage or play some off coverage. You did see some of that. But Malik Nabers, winning some contested catches. You saw the one touchdown pass was they brought a blitz, played man-to-man, and Nabers, so a lot of times just, our guy's better than your guy, and Malik Nabers just, so good after the catch, and Jaden Daniels just in a terrific rhythm. The offensive line played well. I kind of might have to retract and say that, I think this might be an elite offensive line. So huge win for LSU, and the defense looked phenomenal. Harold Perkins with the see ball, get ball, him playing kind of that, closer to the line of scrimmage, and with Mason Smith out there, the defense looked so good. I thought the secondary looked better, but having Mason Smith and having the defensive line play at a high level really makes the secondary look even better. I thought they missed a call on that Chris Hilton pass interference. I thought that was certainly should have been pass interference. I don't blame Brian Kelly for being very livid about that. I can't believe they picked up that call. So I thought that was a ridiculous call, but a huge win for LSU as they take it 41-14 over Mississippi State. And, Caleb Jackson. Boy, Caleb Jackson looks so good at running back. You saw him run over the guy. John Emery, you got to see him out there. Logan Diggs had a really nice game. Logan Diggs is really becoming a guy you can truly count on. I think he's really built up the coach's trust. You saw excellent football game from Logan Diggs, and I think he's going to really play well for them moving forward. So, Jaden Daniels so efficient in this game, was 23 of 25 at one point. And you saw LSU just looked like a team that was just locked in. Like they look like a team where in sports, if you played sports growing up, there's times when your team is just like locked in. You can almost do nothing wrong. That was LSU yesterday. They were locked in. They can almost do nothing wrong. They were ready to make a statement. The offensive line, I cannot reiterate how well they played yesterday. I mean, did give up a sack or two, but it was just, Daniels, it was just him being confident that he could hold on to the ball that long. So such a huge win, and it was cool to see Zealand's Hurd out there. Whit Weeks getting snaps. They were without Omar Spates, and they were without Greg Brooks. I did not realize Greg Brooks was out for this game. But we got to see Whit Weeks, Greg Penn. I thought Greg Penn had a really nice game. Whit Weeks did some nice things. Savion Jones continues to play better and better. I think that's what they need from him. Need him to play at a high level on this defensive line so he can be a really nice complement to what they have in the interior with Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo. But Brian Kelly, I thought tremendously coached game. Brian Kelly had them prepared. I guess they stopped and stretched at a car dealership. So credit the preparation for this game, credit the play calling, credit the play for Malik Nabers, and also credit the LSU run game that was phenomenal, led by Logan Diggs yesterday. So LSU are now 2-1 on the season, 1-0 in conference play, huge win. So very big credit to Brian Kelly. This was instead of, let's look at all the things that went wrong against Florida State, and all those things have started to be corrected. Getting into sustaining a rhythm and playing at a high level offensively for 4 quarters. That's what they did against Grambling, and then that's what they do against Mississippi State. Rotating in young guys, young guys that are earning snaps like Caleb Jackson, getting them good playing time. That's exactly what they did in this game. So, and then finding a run game, finding your go-to guy, running back, making sure to get your other talented guys like Josh Williams, John Emery in the game. So a very well coached football game, and a huge opening conference win on the road. Early 11 a.m. start in Starksville against in a packed stadium, and you go out and you kind of just erase any hope Mississippi State had of winning that game early. So excellent job by LSU to get this win yesterday, recording this Sunday. So LSU, got their sights set on continuing to win, continuing to get better. Brian Thomas had another really nice day. Brian Thomas is just, he is just steady as can be out there. Brian Thomas, such an excellent wide receiver for LSU, having a really nice year too. And then, Harold Perkins. Harold Perkins was phenomenal. He just looks so comfortable out there, just really creating havoc, chasing down ball carriers, getting sacks, doing all the things that they want Harold Perkins to really do to play at a high level defensively. And then Mason Smith looks good. Greg Penn. I thought he had a really nice game. Him and Whit Weeks, they did exactly what they needed to do. Just come in, fill in for Omar Spates, have a nice game, not give up any big plays, not play poorly against the run. So I was really impressed by the way Whit Weeks and Greg Penn played. Also got to see Ryan Yates out there a little bit. I think with Greg Brooks out, I think it was cool to see more of Andre Sam. Andre Sam looks so good. He is just, he really does have a passion for coming downhill and hitting people. I think he just has a passion for football. This guy that's a seventh-year senior now, a lot of experience, a lot of playing time, and has really played at a very high level for a long time now. So big 41-14 victory over Mississippi State. And I think it's interesting. It's too bad that when they bring Zealand's Hurd in, they have to take an offensive. They have to take out Miles Frazier. I really, I'm a fan of. If you follow this channel, I'm a fan of Miles Frazier. He's an excellent offensive lineman for LSU. And Charles Turner, though, and then Charles Turner still out there at center. Dellinger. So that's kind of when they bring in Hurd, they bump Emory Jones to right guard, keep Turner at center. Dellinger stays at left guard, and then at left tackle, Will Campbell. So, the offensive line with Zealand's Hurd is cool. I love that they still got in some backups. You saw DJ Chester out there at center. DJ Chester, if you follow him, he was one of their higher-end recruits on the offensive line. I think he's got a really bright future for LSU. So, Chester, Zealand's Hurd, some of the young guys on the offensive line. They did get even Marlon Martinez got out there. Caleb Jackson we talked about got out there at running back. Nussmeier had a really nice day at quarterback coming in for Daniels. I don't know about, I guess he didn't get a whole lot of snaps, but I thought he did a really good job coming in for Jaden Daniels in the game. So, Nussmeier likely going to be the man next year. It's cool that, when you're up big, you can continue to get him some snaps in this football game. Games like that from Malik Nabers are really just like that was just that was a performance where we're taking no prisoners. I mean, we're coming for blood. Whatever expression you want to use, that's exactly what it was for Malik Nabers. That was, you got kind of flashbacks of the Purdue game, just controlling the line of scrimmage, pass protection off the charts, good. Malik Nabers getting open in off-man coverage and really thriving with the ball in his hands. Brian Thomas, just a being solid as can be. And then Mac Markway, too, the freshman tight end. So no Mason Taylor in this game. Quietly, LSU without three starters in this game. Mason Taylor, Greg Brooks, and Omar Spates. But that's the thing with LSU. Well, that's the thing when you have high-end playmakers like Perkins, Logan Diggs now, Malik Nabers. Some of those, having a few guys out, it can really, it's really not much of an issue when you have, fantastic depth like that. So, LSU, Mac Markway, I thought did a really nice job. I think he only caught a pass or two, but he is just an excellent blocker. He's going to make a living in college football for a long time as a blocker and in the National Football League. He's an excellent blocker who does have good hands too, can work the middle of the field. I think he's a guy that's gonna do a really nice job getting open underneath, especially shallow cross and stuff. Does have the ability to break some tackles, get yard after the catch. Just a big body and a guy who, blocking isn't really necessarily the ideal thing, or just a primary blocking tight end isn't mostly the ideal of the modern tight end, but having a guy that can block is a huge luxury, and it's really just a huge boost to this offensive line. So yeah, even though they were missing the all around skill set Mason Taylor has as a blocker and as a receiver, the job Mac Markway did as a blocker was just absolutely fantastic, and he paid a huge contribution to the win yesterday, especially on that one touchdown run. He had a really nice block. In the offensive line, you talk about the pass blocking, but their run blocking was fantastic too. Zealand's Hurd, just an absolute animal out there. Just a really, really great job by this LSU team overall. Just complimentary football. Excellent job offensively. Excellent job defensively. And Brian Kelly, his demeanor, I think, talking about Brian Kelly yesterday, I think his mindset was just, I think they are, to me, a game like that, you talk about how a loss can refocus you. To me, a game like that is kind of telling of a team being refocused. And what I mean by that is, let's say they had beat Florida State. I think it would be hard to duplicate that performance if they had beaten Florida State. Not to say I think they still would win, but I think the game probably would have looked a little bit like last year. Not as well executed offensively. Maybe Mississippi State would have had a chance, hung around. It would have been close in the third, fourth quarter. But LSU, now that they're refocused, and now that you can't afford to lose, and now that you're playing almost with that loss, almost playing a little bit looser, now that you're not, you're playing to go out and dominate as opposed to going, avoiding the going out and playing not to lose. So I think that was an example that LSU is utterly focused on the task at hand and dominating and executing and playing at a high level. But yeah, still want to see more of Kyron Lacey. It was such an outstanding performance that they really did not need major contributions from Lacey yesterday, but you want to see him continue to grow and get better. But yeah, Savion Jones stood out. Harold Perkins is so good. Zy Alexander, I thought, had a really nice game. It was cool that Deuce Chestnut played a little bit too. Chestnut really had a tough game in week 1, with the exception of the interception he had, but it was really cool to see him bounce. I say bounce back. I did not really see. I don't think he really made any major plays yesterday, but he was out there too. So that's what's cool about a well-rounded performance like that. You can rotate in some guys. You can evaluate some of the young guys, and you can just really feel good about yourself, not only early in the day, but you can celebrate it late Saturday night. These teams don't get a lot of time off, so Brian Kelly talked about how a win here would be excellent, and you can really celebrate on Saturday night and kind of just really savor it and enjoy it. And then into today, you can enjoy it a little bit, but now they're starting to look ahead to next week's game, and LSU now 2-1, currently ranked 14th. We'll see how much they move. I would think they would move a few spots, probably up to 9 or 10 maybe. So yeah, LSU making a strong case to get back into the top 10, especially with that performance. And I was kind of watching. I checked the score at halftime, really happy. And then after that, I was at work, so I didn't see, and I saw the final 41-14, and I just thought, complete football game. And this was one of those games where it really wasn't even 41-14. Obviously, it's not a close score. I don't even think it was really that close. Mississippi State really was kind of. I don't know if I'd say outclassed, but LSU was in control of this game, and it was pretty indicative early on that LSU was going to win this game fairly handily. And the way when Jaden Daniels plays that, when the offensive line plays that way, Jaden Daniels throws the ball like that, and Malik Nabers goes off. If those three things happen, especially Malik Nabers going off, that's one thing I touched on. Especially those three things happen, it is so hard to beat LSU. Like that is those three things: the offensive line, blocking like that in pass protection, Jane Daniels sharp in the pass game, and Malik Nabers thriving. I know those are three things that, even when they win some games, they're probably not all going to be there, but those three things happening, that is, you might as well just pencil in a W for LSU. But yeah, I think the question with that performance is going to be, how many more games can Malik Nabers have like that? I think he definitely is going to have at least probably 2, maybe 3 or 4 more games like that. But if he can have 5 or 6 games like that, obviously they're not going to be as completely dominant as they were as like his first half performance. Like he's not going to be like that dominant because some teams are not going to allow what he did in the first half. But to me, it was the perfect time for Malik Nabers to go off because you look at last week, or you look at against Florida State. Florida State, for the most part, or I don't even say for the most part, I would say they did keep him in check. Now, he did have some catches. He had some, 67 yards. He was okay in that game, but to me, if Florida State going into that game knew at the end that would be a stat line, I think you would take that outcome. So in the end, it would really just an okay, adequate, probably most likely, by his standards, an adequate performance. But you look at the Grambling game and you saw Malik Nabers look more like the guy we saw. Malik Nabers started to look more like the guy we saw play at a high level last year. Now, it wasn't his best performance, but they really didn't need it. So if you're Mississippi State, you saw, by his standards, an adequate performance against Florida State, and then against Grambling, a solid performance. But it was hard to tell, because they didn't really need that performance. So you're kind of going in the game as Mississippi State and you're thinking, Nabers, yeah, he was really good last year, but this year he has not been a complete nightmare mismatch yet. But Mississippi State found out early that they should have been more prepared for him because, this was the game where he became once again that complete matchup nightmare. Winning on double moves, contested catches, being terrific after the catch. Just a guy that can play outside in the slot. You saw just the all-around skill of Malik Nabers on full display in this football game, and it was his performance was crucial to getting that W. Josh Williams played well in this game. Josh Williams really involved in the passing game too, which was awesome. He's an excellent runner. I love that Josh Williams. It's never going to be like super flashy, super dominant running, but he is the guy that just Josh Williams. It just seems like he is. Like his determination, he always can break that one tackle. So credit Josh Williams in this game for his play, a good veteran performance. I love that LSU got John Emery out there. But yeah, John Emery, like they had talked about, John Emery, he's a guy that's been on this team for a long time, was a freshman in 2019 when they won it all. And he not really a dominant game, but getting him snaps in this game, I think his performance is important for him to, have a really nice season and him to really stay involved in this offense and not be a forgotten about guy. Even though Logan Diggs has really emerged, Caleb Jackson's played well, and you still have Josh Williams. So even with those three guys doing really nice things, you don't want to forget about John Emery and Noah Cain. But yeah, the running back room, what's happening at running back is exactly what they needed to happen. They needed, one or two guys, one guy, I said one guy to emerge. It appears to be two guys emerging with Caleb Jackson and Logan Diggs. Then you need veteran guys to play well and the depth to really stay there. So what's happening at running back is exactly what they needed. And then in the secondary, improvement in the secondary. So I think that the things after the Florida State loss that needed to happen, or the things that were talked about before the season that needed to happen for LSU to win a national title, I think you're starting to see take fruition. The running back, the 1-2 guys emerging, the depth there, secondary continuing to improve, get more experience. Zy Alexander continuing to play better and better. You see him adjusting more and more to the SEC level Power 5 competition. I know last week they didn't play a Power 5 team, but now 2 weeks of seeing Power 5 teams. So Zy Alexander improving, the secondary getting better and better. Deuce Chestnut hopefully can continue to get better and do some nice things for him. Andre Sam really becoming the guy we thought from Marshall, and he's just done an excellent job. Major Burns, too. Major Burns, we haven't really talked about him as much recently, but Major Burns had a nice game. He had a sack. I thought he was just really rock solid yesterday. That kind of looked like he's the Major Burns that they need to continue to do some nice things this year. Yeah, hopefully they get Greg Brooks back. I've touched on Greg Brooks has some deficiency as far as his movement skills, but he is a veteran guy who can play well and will do a really nice job and be consistently very solid for this team. And he can do some things like Major Burns, a guy that can blitz, can disrupt plays, can create turnovers. He doesn't necessarily put the fear into offenses like Mason Smith and Harold Perkins do, but Greg Brooks, his experience is just so valuable, and he is a really good player. So hopefully they get him back. Hopefully we get Mason Taylor back. But yeah, LSU, to me, that performance yesterday really gives you confidence. Brian Kelly touched on, avoiding, with the issues of the depth at this team, possibly, that performance yesterday really gives you confidence that they can avoid having issues with injuries. But yeah, I think Mason Smith, just his presence out there, I think was crucial in this football game yesterday. I think that really led the way for Harold Perkins to really just roam freely. It just seems like, Mason Smith, you watch, I didn't watch him super closely, but it seems like each time he was left one-on-one, he was winning that matchup. And that's what Brian Kelly absolutely loves about Mason Smith. This guy just knows how to win one-on-one matchups. He always just gets it done. So yeah, his presence out there just absolutely crucial for this LSU team. And then yeah, Garrett Nussmeier. It was cool to see. Nussmeier. They obviously didn't need a lot from him because they were up big, but just Nussmeier getting those snaps in game. So he just seems like, you don't want Garrett Nussmeier to be forgotten about, because as Jaden Daniels continues to play good and its LSU team continues to do things at a high level, it could be Garrett Nussmeier could be forgotten about a little bit, but he just did an excellent job of coming in, running the offense, making some throws. So yeah, Garrett Nussmeier is certainly a guy that LSU is not going to not only need this year, but long term. And then even saw Pimpton, too, the freshman tight end. He had a really nice block on a run play. So, yeah, it's just LSU, the young players, this recruiting class obviously is most likely going to shine next year and the year after that. Guys like Whit Weeks, Caleb Jackson, even though they will play well this year when they in the snaps they play. I think next year you will really see this 2023 recruiting class really shine, especially guys like Markway. Especially guys like Markway, Pimpton, Whit Weeks, especially Whit Weeks. Whit Weeks has got an opportunity to be the starting linebacker next year. So I think you'll really get to see this core of freshmen really shine next week. But yeah, let's see what else we want to discuss here. But yeah, LSU, to me, the win yesterday, another step in the right direction of kind of putting that Florida State loss behind them. So hopefully they just, these next two games I talked about are really critical. Ole Miss and Arkansas. I forget who they play. Is it Ole Miss or Arkansas this weekend? But yeah, these two games absolutely critical in turning the corner and getting back to their winning ways and looking more like the LSU team we saw that was reeling off wins last year and performing at a high level very consistently. So LSU got a chance to pick up another SEC win this weekend. It's always fun when SEC play opens up. So LSU with Bama struggling, it appears that that game could be more likely a win. But Florida Florida looked really good yesterday too. So Florida is probably going to be a tougher game for LSU, kind of like I predicted than most people thought. Florida, after that loss to Utah, I think a lot of people wrote them off, but Florida looking pretty good. So LSU a chance to get if Bama plays, continues to not really play at a high level, then LSU will have an opportunity to get a win over Alabama once again. And Florida appears like it's going to be a tougher game. I know that game is still a ways out. A&M looks okay. A&M appears to be able to put up some points and play high-level offense. So I think that game will present a challenge from that aspect, that the A&M can move the ball, and they do have a talented offensive line. So I think they will present a challenge for LSU defense in that regard. But yeah, A&M and Florida, those games are a long ways away. So. Yeah. I'm going to wrap with that. Thanks for tuning in this episode, guys. Stay tuned for more episodes and clips from Bayou Bengals. Until next time, peace.